Hey, shalom, shalom. Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. Hey, it's your brother Aria from GMS Southwest Florida. Back at you again with another quick live lesson through the spirit and power of YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI. And of course, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM QADASH. Also, double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. And salute to you brothers out there pushing the word and truth and sincerity. And for obvious reasons, I want to make this quick for this Saturday afternoon and just waiting on the brothers to get into town, or getting into the area so we can do our live camp, which we're out here in downtown Fort Myers, Florida. And we're pretty much newly out here. I'm the brother from Tampa. I'm formerly at the Tampa Bay camp. Your brothers should recognize me by now. And I'm here with a couple of brothers that were formerly at a Miami camp, brother Shamar and brother War, okay, along with a brother that lives down here in Fort Myers, that's been coming out and listening to us up in Tampa for a few years. So we kind of started a camp down here, because we're just pushing the word out wherever we can, doing the best that we can to get the word pushed out through all four corners of the earth, doing our due diligence, all right, through the spirit that YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI has put upon us. All right, this isn't anything that we thought of, yeah, we should do that, no, it's all through the spirit and power of YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI. One thing led to another, and this seemed like it was the most feasible route to go. And start a camp down here, okay? And we've been doing it for the past, I guess, 8, 9, 10 months now. I'm not even sure how long it's been. Maybe around 8 or 9 months. We've been down here, okay, pushing the word out. Time has just been flying by. Now we at the end of 2025, okay, and a lot of things have been happening throughout the year to pretty much put a stamp, on the end of the street ministry. We ain't there yet, so don't get too excited. We still out here pushing, all right. But a lot of things are happening that are getting us closer to that day. I was watching a little bit of the brother Mayum's video. He had just put out a few minutes ago, maybe an hour or so ago, going into this pretty much the same kind of title, with the death of this CK guy. That kind of sparked a lot of movement from the same powers that were coming up against us during the time of the CVID back in 2020, 2021, chiefly 2021, when they were doing all the censorship stuff. Okay, so now that's kind of back around. They ain't cutting channels just yet, but maybe they are. I'm not sure, but they're really on that same energy. You can't talk about it like that. If you say this, then something may happen to you. Remember when Alex Jones said what he said about the Hook and Sandy? Okay, well, they're trying to make an example out of him. That you can't speak against the official story type of shit. Okay, and we're not really speaking on that CK stuff really too much anymore, because it's just business as usual out here in America. We on to the next thing. We on to the next phase of prophecy. We're pushing the we're pushing the energy of the MOTB, because we see all this stuff is ultimately it's going to lead to the MOTB, the mark of the beast, okay, which is an RFID microchip, which will be implanted in your body. All right, that's where they're trying to get everything towards. They're trying to get your mind geared towards peace and safety. You're gonna find peace and safety in the government. Okay, you're gonna be looking for, after what's about to happen here in America. When it happens, y'all gonna be looking for peace and safety in the government. We've been telling you what's really about to happen here. Going into political turmoil, uproars of the people. You're seeing it now, right? But it died down. Wait till the next thing happens. You're going to see more political turmoil. You're going to see more uproars of the people, which is going to lead to what? More political violence. It's going to lead to anarchy. Okay, where people aren't going to even be looking at their government, at least for a time being, as the authority. Okay, until shit gets too bad out here, or at least until the government starts using the military on you regular, everyday American people, right? We can just read a little bit in 2nd Ezra 15. Again, I'm not going to make this too long because I'm just waiting on the brothers. We'll read 2nd Ezra 15 just to touch that point. You brothers know the scripture already. Inshallah, one to the brother Isaiah, YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI, Barakatoma to you and yours. This is the book of 2nd Ezra 15, starting in verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand and fight against another with swords in their hands." And this is what we've been prophesying for a long time. With all the stuff happening with the CK thing, okay, and all these people are rising up, saying what they got to say. Some people are happy that it happened. Some people are very upset that this happened. Okay, so when somebody speaks up against it, that's happy that it happened. All right, there's a lot more people that are upset that it happened. Okay, and so what do you think that's going to lead to? If stuff like this keeps happening, people keep talking freely. You understand what I'm saying? Your freedom of speech is being, when people keep talking freely, it's going to lead to some sort of violence. Okay, and we've been saying that this, starting with our apostles and elders, for a very, very long time. Longer than I've been on the internet. Okay, so now we're getting to the point where we're starting to see this actually taking place. This is leading up to a major prophecy. All right, ultimately the famine of the word. Because what? Again, your American rights are being targeted. Right? Your First Amendment, which really is wicked at the end of the day. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to what was the other one? Bear arms and all that. Or that Second Amendment, Slakia. Freedom to gather, which is, freedom to gather, freedom of press. Okay, so like, you news can just, take a camera out and start recording, and they can twist their own narrative. Okay, and we've seen that happen many a times. But really going into that freedom of speech. All right, which, here in the West, you take that for granted, right? Well, when they start slowly taking that away, you're going to see your rights start slowly eroding away. Well, at least it's been happening for a while now. So it really seems like, they're just going to snatch it away from you. Or it's really just going to be taken away from you real quick. Because, y'all weren't really paying attention to what's been happening since 2021. Okay? These same, when Obama was in office, he had set up the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, okay, setting up certain legislation, okay, and then Trump came back into office, he renewed those sort of things, he called it something else, all right, so now they have the military, they've been using the military on you so-called Americans, okay, sending them out there to these certain crime-ridden areas, these cities, okay. You say something, hey, you might be eligible to get thrown into a back of a van and taken to some sort of entertainment camp somewhere. All right, and people, they're starting to see it now, so they're gonna start fighting. All right, because they love their rights. These American people, they love their rights, man. It says, and swords in their hands, so they're gonna use violence. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. And you see sedition happening all across the world, right? You see what happened in Nepal, okay? You see what's going on in France, these certain European countries, okay? Well, wait till it happens in America, where everybody's armed with guns and stuff, pistols and rifles and shotguns. Wait till something like that happens over here, where basically the straw breaks the camel's back, and everybody just loses their mind and picks up arms. Save, of course, the men of the Lord, because we ain't going to be doing that. We're not called to pick up arms. The scriptures tell us to wait upon YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI till he rises up to the prey. We ain't going to do shit. All we going to do is prophesy until we can't prophesy anymore. And that day is coming quick. Again, freedom of speech. It says, so, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And you're going to see the everyday American people say they had enough. And what are they going to do with their time? Hey, it's not going to be marching in the streets no more. It's going to be something else. They're going to be on some other kind of time. All right, just like we've been prophesying, just like it says in the scriptures. Okay? And a lot of these so-called white Americans, they sick of you niggas, man. That's why they're happy that ICE is out there doing what they're doing. You see? And then a lot of you, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you so dumb. You don't really understand that you've been set up. And so what are you going to do? You're going to fight against them. So it's going to be what? People against people. Race against race. We're getting ready to see that out here. All right? And if YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI ain't with you, if you're not covered by the blood of YAHAWASHI, then, hey, man, so be it. You're going to get caught up in all this confusion and ultimately end up losing your life out here. It says, verse 17, it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, going into martial law. All right? You've been seeing little hints of that here and there throughout America. Okay, whether it been some sort of so-called natural disaster or the CV outbreak a few years back. Okay, these are all practice runs until that big day comes and they're ready to, really move on you Americans. Okay, they're gonna shut down the highways. They're gonna put curfews on you. It's not gonna be police out here. It's gonna be military out here. Okay, it ain't gonna be all in every single spot in America, but they're gonna be in the major spots in America, the major hubs where cities are, where the people are. Okay, and you might be affected by that. You ain't gonna be able to go out. You might be out in the city. You might get stopped by some guys in a Humvee with M16s on their back, telling you to stop and ask you a bunch of questions. And if you don't answer their questions, you might be taken into a camp somewhere until they can ID who you truly are or whatever the case is. Hey, it happened before and it surely is going to happen again. All right. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. This is how bad it's going to get out here. So you think the men of the Lord are going to be out here prophesying during this time period? You're out of your mind. Absolutely not. No, by that time, Great Millstone is going to be off the highways and hedges and off the internet. Whether we're forced off the internet in that manner, or we're manually taken off the internet. Okay, but one way or another, we ain't going to be out here no more. During the time where people they're so hungry and they're going to be breaking in people's houses. We ain't going to be out on the highways and hedges prophesying, going live on the internet. The internet might not even be up. These are the things you got to be you got to kind of consider. Okay, the internet might not even be up. It might not be up and running. All right, we've been hinting, or I shouldn't say we have, but the government or the media has been hinting that there's going to be some sort of blackout, whether it be a cyber or we call it a grid shutdown, something like that. And if so-called experts are saying if there's a grid shutdown, meaning that if your power grid goes down in America, if there's a civil war, if there's a civil war, meaning that people against people, right? Okay, class against class, okay, people versus the government, so-called blacks versus so-called whites, Hispanics, whatever the case is. If that happens, or right versus left, Republican versus Democrat, if that happens on a major scale in America, like a major scale, they say that a grid shutdown isn't going to be far off after that. And then they say if there's a grid shutdown in America, they're saying that it's going to be mass death throughout the whole country. Okay, and it's going to happen within a matter of weeks. Really days, but, the full scale of it is you're going to see it within a matter of weeks. If it's that bad. Okay, imagine the grid shut down for a few months in America. Imagine that. We're talking about a time of trouble that the world has never seen before, right? The scriptures tell you about that. We always talk about it over here at Great Millstone. I don't see any other camps talking about this, but we're going to read it every single day. Jeremiah chapter 30, starting verse 4, it says, and these are the words that the Lord YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah, concerning you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans here in the latter days. It says, thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. All right, and that's what we've been reminding you, brothers and you sisters out here. It's going to be a time of trouble out here. No peace is coming. Okay? It says, ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned to paleness. Okay, meaning that people are going to be, they're going to be in such a bad position. They're going to be crying and screaming like a woman giving birth. Here's the point, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even a time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay, there's a time coming that the earth has not seen before. You so-called blacks and Spanish has never seen a time of trouble so bad that's really about, to come upon, all of us. Not even just Jacob, but all the other nations that dwell within America. Anyone left on the shores of America during that time is going to feel the same way. So all these so-called white people, all these different African nations, these different Asians, okay, they're all going to be stricken by Jacob's trouble. But it's called Jacob's trouble for the reason of, we're the stars of the story, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Okay, so it's going to fall chiefly upon our nation. But it goes on to say, but he shall be saved out of it. And that he is referring to the elect of Israel. Okay? That he is going to be referring to, you brothers and you sisters out there that believe in the gospel, man. You call on YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI. You believe in the truth. Okay? You can also read Daniel the 12th chapter in the 1st verse. Okay? A time of trouble that the world has never seen before is coming upon you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans chiefly. Here in the United States, America is going to fall. That's the prophecy. All right? And so as we always read in the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter, seek ye the Lord while he may be found, call ye upon him while he is near. All right? And repent. All right? Because we at the time that the Lord is about to bring mass judgment upon the planet Earth. And the last thing you want is to be caught up in that judgment because you don't believe in God, or you believe God knows your heart and you can do whatever you want to do. It's not how it goes out here. You can't just do what you want to do because you believe God knows your heart. You're damn right God knows your heart. Okay? He sees how, how much you don't really care. Okay? Your mind is not geared towards salvation and repenting. Your mind is geared towards, what you're going to do tomorrow. Okay? Is she gonna hit me back? I texted her, she gonna hit me back? I'm gonna call this chick up because she ain't hit me back. I'm gonna call this girl up. We going downtown tonight so we can see if we're gonna pick up some scallywags or whatever. Yeah, that's what Jake's mind is at, man. Oh, money, just money, Niggas out here still selling drugs and, still hitting licks. It's the same shit y'all been doing since I've been born. Okay? And it's gotten you niggas nowhere. All you're doing is you're forwarding the stereotype. And now these so-called white people, they had enough of you niggas, man. And you Hispanics. All right? So great tribulation is coming to the nation of Israel, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And when it comes, you're not going to be able to find the voice of the prophets out here no more, man. What am I thinking about? Also in the book of 2nd Ezra. 5th chapter. Let me see. This is 2nd Ezra 5, verse 9. It says, and salt water shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into its secret chamber. Right. That's because the Lord has now removed the voice of the prophets from, the highways and hedges, from the internet. And you're not going to be able to inquire onto YAHAWAHbahashamYAHAWASHI no more, because now the doors of repentance have shut. All right, and you just left out here trying to figure it out yourself. And the majority of you people that survived Jacob's trouble, what are you going to go? You're going to go right to the so-called white man for help. And what's he going to give you? He's going to give you help. All right. You're going to have to put your hand out. You're going to have to put a device in your hand, and then you'll be like, all right, you can go back to being a nigga again. All right, you can be an American. All right, because you got the mark. Now you have Esau's mark. So now you safe. You in a safe city, a green city. You think everything is sweet until the Lord comes, until the day of the Lord comes. So all the stuff that we're talking about is leading up to the day of the Lord. And you don't want to be caught up out there, unawares. All right. We told you. We've been telling you. We've been pouring our guts out, for decades telling you this, and a lot of you just don't give a fuck. So You know, it is what it is. We don't really care. We're worried about ourselves first and foremost. We're worried about the elect first and foremost. Of course, ourselves, because we do everything we do it for the elect's sake. All right, and you know, the Lord told Peter to feed his sheep. All right, so that's what we're doing. We're feeding the sheep in hopes that the Lord will have mercy upon us and ours. All right, but I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. We're about to set up camp. I do want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Also want to give double honors unto the apostles, bishops, and elders of GMS Great Millstone. Salute to you brothers out there pushing the word of truth and sincerity. Shalom to the rest of the elect. Peace.